Creating a mixed media sample is all about building layers. Firstly, a background needs to be created. This can be done through the use of paint or as a collage. Different brushes can create different effects. Here I'm using a dry decorator's brush with acrylic paint, and you can see it creates a much more scratchy effect than the previous watercolour. It's not just paintbrushes that can be used, various household objects can also create interesting effects. Here is a closer look at the results. For the background, I'm going to use the second method, a dry brush with acrylic paint. I've not thought too much about what pattern I'll create, as this will be the base on which other layers are built. I chose to work with a monochromatic colour palette and look through magazines selecting images that would work well and that also had interesting textures and features within them. These images can be torn with or without the use of a ruler for a rougher edge, or scissors can be used for a more precise line. Once you have the materials you wish to collage, try laying them on top of your background in different positions to see which layout works best. Once you're happy, glue these in place securely. Don't worry too much if paper overhangs on the edge, you can always tidy this up after. Tissue paper is great for mixed media as it is semi-transparent, so it can help to mute or blend colours. Scrunching paper can also be a good way of adding texture to your piece. Here is a close-up of the background where I've used the same method as earlier to apply white acrylic paint. Now it's time to start adding on the fabric. In keeping with the theme of my background, I've roughly cut out triangles and then frayed the edges. These pieces were then painted with watercolour to create varying shades of grey. Once your fabric is dry, you can then do as you did before and experiment with the layout before you commit. Once you're happy with your layout, pin your pieces of fabric in place. Now it's time to sew. I've used embroidery thread and split it down to 3 threads. This way there's still a good definition of colour, but the thread's not too thick or too thin. Here is a close-up of the finished piece, and you can see that I've used the stab stitch to connect the fabrics together and to also join them to the cardboard background. I've used long and short stitches, and I've not worried too much about how far apart they are from each other. I've used the cross stitch, and I've also used the running stitch stitched closely together to create this effect. I've not worried too much about the neatness of my stitches because I wanted it to be very much in keeping with the distressed background and fabric.